Welcome back to Make Your Big Impact. I'm your host, Angel Tuccy, also known as the Book Angel, and this is the show for authors, speakers, and thought leaders who know their story isn't just meaningful, it's meant to move people, create influence, and drive real results. And today's episode is one of my favorite formats because we're hosting a roundtable conversation with powerful voices who have each taken their own message and I'm going to say that again. We're hosting a roundtable conversation with powerful voices who have each taken their message and turned it into impact in their own unique way. And this isn't about theory, this is about what they're actually doing. And if you're ready to step into visibility, authority, and leadership, then this is the group for you. And I'm super excited that you're listening here today. Let me introduce our panelists today. First, we have Anthony Messina, a life strategist and an entrepreneur who helps high capacity individuals reclaim clarity, self trust, and internal authority to feel free and aligned. He's traveled to all 50 US states and 50 countries, and he brings a practical, real world perspective on leadership, decision making, and sustainable access. I'm going to just stumble today, right? Sustainable success. Anthony, 50 states and 50 countries. Welcome. How are you today?
I'm doing fantastic. How about yourself, Angel?
I'm doing great. Where are you joining us from?
I am in Austin right now, heading back out in a couple weeks, but enjoying the hometown for now.
Is Austin hometown?
It is indeed.
I love it. I love it. Well, next we have Justine Reiss, like the peanut butter cup, which I love. So she's super sweet and she does. She goes together like all good things, like peanut butter and chocolate. She is a vocal empowerment coach and a voiceover talent. Let's see. She also shows you how you can monetize your message through the simple use of your voice. I've seen this woman in action. This is going to be super fun. Justine, how are you today?
I'm great. It is so nice to be here off the ship and see you on the Zoom.
Right? Yeah, we got to spend some fun time together cruising in Mexico. And Anthony, you were on the ship with us too, weren't you?
I was.
Yeah, right. So this is like our marketers cruise reunion, and hopefully, I won't put you on the spot, but I did put my deposit down for next year, so hopefully we'll get to cruise again with you too. We also have Natasha. Okay, is it Jelinas? I did it. I wrote it down as a G. Natasha Galina. She is the author of The Millionaire Hippie. She is an expert in resilience and in PTSD. And God bless you for what you do. She shares how powerful we can be over our experiences and despite our experiences. And of course, well, I was gonna say, and then welcome, Natasha. How are you doing, my millionaire hippie?
Thank you. I'm doing very well. I appreciate the intro there.
Well, and I'm loving that you're here with us. And I love that we've just got a collective use of voices. You can see a variety of backgrounds, different experiences, different angles, different voices of wisdom. But you're going to hear that they all have one shared mission, and that is making a bigger impact with the message that they were called to share. And I'm Angel Tuccy. I am your host, author of Authorlicity, where we help our clients get their message out using the power of a book in one hand and a podcast guest microphone in the other. Okay, so before we dive in today, and I'll just do in the same order that I introduced you, just in one sentence, right? Tell us the impact you're most passionate about making right now. And Anthony, I will start with you. And actually, I don't think I told you guys that was going to be the first question I asked you. I'm like, here's all the questions, but I forgot about this very first one, right? What is the impact you're most passionate about making right now?
Yeah, if I look back, there's been a lot of different hats and funnels. The one sentence, let me bring it back to one sentence. My brand is Master My Power. I love helping people reclaim their power, feel powerful. When we do that, they show up differently in the world. Everyone around them benefits. I like to help people feel powerful.
I love that. I love that. How long have you been in that space?
2 years.
2 years. All right. And so where do you feel like you're at in the journey on that? Like kind of at the beginning, somewhere in the middle, like you've been doing it for a while and you're seeing the results of it. Like where do you think like on your journey?
Absolutely somewhere in the middle. I feel like it's always going to feel like the middle. You're never fully there, but you have to acknowledge that you're not at the start line anymore.
I think that so often we have our kind of our mindset on our goals and where we're going that we forget to really celebrate like what we've done to build it. And so I love that you say that you're in the middle. Right? So sharing the story of how we build it, I think is so important. I think we always want to wait until we've done it, right? Before we start sharing it and celebrating it. But I think it's the journey that's I don't know, a bigger piece of the puzzle. What do you think?
I think you're so right. One of the biggest things for a long time, I worked with only men, and the biggest gap, especially for men, it shows up for women too, but the biggest gap for people is they don't celebrate themselves. It
Mm.
is 100% the biggest gap because that is the fuel to keep going. If you are not celebrating yourself, you're living off brute force, and it's like trying to drive a car with no gas. Like
Mm.
celebrating yourself, being proud, acknowledging yourself is the gas. And if we were to go home, say you have a partner, husband, wife, whatever, you come home and you had a list of 10 things you wanted to get done. If you did nine and you're happy about it, and your wife gets home and says, "Hey, but you didn't take out the trash," like you'd go crazy. You can't win, but that's how most people show up for themselves.
Yeah, I saw Natasha clapping, right, about those wins. Yeah, so Natasha, and I know I'm going out of order, but how about you? What's the impact you're most passionate about making right now?
I love what Anthony just said, and the impact I think is somehow a sister to what Anthony mentioned there, and that's really for people to be able to find compassion within themselves through understanding their nervous systems, understanding what PTSD is for, yes, veterans, people that have been through child abuse, but also the fact that you went through high school, the fact that you're in a society that is patriarchal, or, all of these things that we all live and that we all kind of have somehow an effect of that on our nervous system of the PTSD, so to say. And so to be able to have that compassion and go to the root cause, the root master system that will allow you to be productive, happy, your hormones, your sleep, your digestion, that's the impact that I'm really, really, really focused on.
I love it. I love it. You guys are making you're kind of like giving me goosebumps a little bit. Justine, because I think your answer is probably going to be fairly similar, but what's the impact you're most passionate about making right now?
Well, I love the alignment and everything that people are saying around reclaiming our purpose and our power and getting out of this negative mindset. And basically, I take all of that and put it into the literal voice and matching that internal voice that we're talking about, that negative talk, that like celebrating, instead switching that to a celebration. And then how can we claim that in our voice, both to create content, to vocalize our dreams into reality, and monetize the things that really move us, as well as be of service and give back globally. So giving voice to the voiceless and helping people really claim, especially women. I noticed that Anthony said he used to work more with men, but I have so many women that come in and say, "I'm looking to find my voice again." And my
Mm.
thought is, you have to claim your voice. You still have it. You just have to figure out where it got shut down. So I like to use that mindfulness to help create the inner voice matching with the outer voice to have more impact in a positive way.
I don't believe in coincidences, right? And when you look at the three of you and your backgrounds and what you do and how you serve, you're thinking, okay, these are going to be like, these really random conversations, right? That are going to come together. But it's really more in alignment than we realize. And isn't that the truth? Like we're more alike than we are different. And there's a lot of things that we can come together on in agreement. And if you can talk about it, you can fix it. I think I just saw a post. Like if we can't talk about it, we can't fix it. But if you can talk about it, you can fix it. And so again, no coincidences that we are here today. Anthony, what's the moment that you realize like that this was your message to go out and share with the world?
That's a little tough. I feel there's an inflection point. It's really clear in regard to when I started on this path, and this path inevitably, as a coach and strategist, it involves speaking out. And that started at an inflection point when I went through a spiritual awakening and near breakup at virtually the same time.
Mm.
And those two things just completely shifted life. I built a moving company for 7 years, home services. I built this dream life. I'd live in downtown high rise, beautiful girlfriend, traveling every month. Like I had everything that I had personally desired to achieve. And that was amazing, but it was entirely based on myself. And so I went through this awakening, and it was very clear, reveled to me that I was here for something bigger. There's a very clear conversation that happened, and it was just a wake up call. And overnight, mentally completely checked out of that business, like just stopped answering the phone. Like I just was completely detached and decided overnight I was going to be a coach. And that was probably not the best way to do it. And there was probably 8 months of like zero success whatsoever. But it was like that was the moment when everything shifted and something was channeled to me that Anthony, that's why you're here in regard to doing something more than moving people from point A to point B.
Right? Like something like has to, I think, really disrupt us because even though we might be on a path that's successful or looks successful and glamorous on the outside, unless something really does shake us up, we might just stay there, even if we know it's not serving us. I think I read it. This is going to be a terrible analogy, but it's like a poopy diaper. It's mine. It's poopy and it smells, but it's mine, and I know what to expect, or something like it's gross. It was like a whole really gross thing. I'm sorry I brought it up. Erase that image from your mind. But I remember I was in broadcasting. I had a really successful broadcasting career. 10 years. I was the host of two back-to-back radio shows, and the day they fired me, right? It was 5 minutes before I went live on the air. I had a guest who had flown in. I was in Denver at the time, who had flown in from Florida to be live in the studio. And they came in and said, Angel, we've made a change. And that was my description. We've made a change. There was no other information, right? We've made a change. So it was a very public, it's very public because 5 minutes later, my phone's ringing off the hook. I'm listening. Where are you? You're not on the radio. You're not like, it was very public. But I, like you, Anthony, I'm like, okay, made a shift. Actually, it took me a few days of, I went to an event and it was one of those, everybody's like, oh, you're not on the air. Oh, I miss listening to you. It was like, oh, and I'm like, I'm gonna be fine. I'm gonna be fine. Oh, but, and I went home, I told my husband, like, get me out of town. And we went away for the weekend and I made that shift, right? Something different is gonna happen. And that's when I launched Vedette Global and went on this whole new path. But I had known, Anthony, that for a long time I wanted to make a change, but I just didn't know how to kind of get off the path that I was on. And so in a very embarrassing, it was embarrassing to me, turn of events. My life shifted for me. So I'm glad you're able to take that. But isn't that just sometimes like it's just got to be like that, right?
Yeah, and it didn't, there was no question, reservation. I won't go too deep into the story, but my girlfriend almost became my ex-girlfriend, channeled to me in a very, very direct way. And I'd never experienced anything like that. It was also the moment at which I had complete conviction in God and faith was developed in that same moment. And there wasn't any hesitation or question. It was just like, oh, I have to do something else. Like it's this path is already over. And I loved that path. There was no running from that. It was just something else opened up. And there was no resistance. It didn't feel like there was even a choice after that experience.
Anthony, how do our listeners connect with you?
The best way would just be Instagram at Anthony Lives Free.
Anthony Lives Free on Instagram. I love that. All right. Well, Justine, we're going to go to you. We're going to go to you next, right? When was the moment that you realized like that you could share with people their voice? Like what was the moment for you that you realized I need to share this gift with the world?
Well, it was interesting because I had been using my voice as a voiceover talent for 2 decades, probably, and doing coaching, but it was the what I call my pandemic pause, even though you probably had it too, which forced me to sit still, stop moving, as we all did, and that what we did with that moment. And I realized I was not connecting my inner voice to this outer voice that was actually making my living. And it was in the travel that I was starting to teach people how to use their voices in the space of voiceover, but it was something much bigger was happening because I was looking at it not as a performative exercise, but I was looking at it like, how do we bring real emotion into our words? And people were so responsive. And I started to create all of these sort of out of the box graphs and things that were tangible, but it all started from the heart. And when the pandemic hit, I realized I was unhappy. I was running from my relationship that was just not in alignment with who I was anymore. And I essentially moved. We had a bonus room. We had sold our house, which I was devastated by selling our house. It turned out that that thing that of devastation was the very thing I needed to do to unlock my own freedom. And we were living in a rental, and I was able to, we had this sort of bonus room. So I kind of moved into the bonus room. I started meditating. I was able to teach from home, and I got to look at my life and start to create a vision for what I wanted and realize I was not in control, much like what Anthony said, that there was something bigger at work here, if we want to call it God or higher power. But it was working in alignment with that that gave me the guidance and the courage to make change. And I started to visualize a house with a mountain view. And I was like, that's crazy. I'm never going to have that. What am I moving to Santa Fe? And I am now in a house in Woodland Hills with a mountain view. It's the San Gabriel Mountains. And those things happened. It was very challenging, but it was the sitting still and the pause of that moment and discovering meditation. I became a certified meditation facilitator through the Dream Bigger Foundation. And now incorporating all of that into the work with the voice is really what set me free. And kind of like Anthony said, when you find that purpose, it's an undeniable thing. You can't look away. And so, yes, I'm still helping people with voiceover, but I'm helping them really integrate their voice. And that's turned into global work with helping women have a voice through menstrual equity in Africa and bigger things that I never imagined I would be doing, but it's really feels on track. Not always easy, but on track.
Yeah, not always easy, right? I do
Right.
say that the miracle's already in place for all of us. But how often have we heard somebody say like they visualized something or they had a vision board and then years later they're unpacking this vision board that's been packed away and the picture of the house is where they live now, right? Or the car is like it come even if you're not constantly looking at it, this was your vision and it was meant, it was meant to be and how it comes together. And I think so often we want to control it and we
Right.
don't, but but then you look back at the journey and you see what it really was the refiner's fire. Like I had to learn that lesson. I had to go through that in order to,
Yes.
that door really had to slam shut, right, for me to be on the path that I'm on. And
Exactly. And I think sometimes Angel and all of us, and this is what I love to help. That's why I use three words now. And the first one is visualize. Because if you don't know where you want to go, and then you've got to sit still to do that, I believe that might require meditation or different systems that I like to help people to do that first. Then vocalize. Then I can speak it into reality or work on all the refinement of creating content or or being on podcasts, like creating spaces like you're doing, which is so beautiful. Space creating is so important so people can have a voice. And that's what you're doing for us right now, you know? And
I
then we can
believe
monetize.
it
Yeah.
is my mission to create a platform for Kingdom Voices to share. Like that is my God-given mission. But I love how you say like you visualize it. And so it's your thoughts, right? Your thoughts become your words. Your words
Yes.
become your actions, right? And then that's who you become, right? And so I love that you take them through that journey. Justine, how do our audience follow you? How do they connect with you?
Thank you. Well, you can always find me on all the platforms, LinkedIn, Instagram. It's just at Justine Reiss, Reiss. I also have a podcast called The Voiceover Pod. So all these things come up when you Google me, and my website is theempoweredvoicecoach.com.
I love it. I love it. All right, Natasha, you're next. Right? Think about, oh, like, are we still on the first question? Or no, or I guess the second question. When was,
Second impact.
right, what, right, yeah, when
Oh
was the
no,
moment, right? When
moment,
was the
moment.
moment you realized you needed to start sharing your story publicly?
That is such a good question because I feel like I realize it all the time. I keep realizing it, and I haven't quite even realized it at the same time. What a paradox. But I feel that I got time to prepare here for that. When I was in high school, we had a personal project for our last year, and I was invited by the Child Protective Services of my region because what I had done was a fundraiser because I was in foster care my entire life. And what I did was I raised money because I wanted, foster kids just like me, like my foster mom was a really, really, really great foster mom, and she put us in karate, and she got us like money for like a whole bunch of stuff, and she really like she fight with like well not fight, but she would debate with the minister, and get us a whole bunch of funding. But I knew that other children didn't have a foster mom like that, and they invited me to a gala. And that was the first time I ever spoke on stage where they invited me to speak about that. And I was still raising money. And after the fact, everyone was like, "Oh, you did such a great job sharing, what your story is and what you did." And people kept giving me money. And I thought that was great. They would like come up and it wasn't for me, it was for the cause, but it was
Yeah,
still for me in a way. I felt
yeah,
really great
you made
about
that
it.
happen, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and it would be like, oh, here's some support and all that. And that's I think when I realized that, wow, okay, this is powerful. People are interested in this. This is an impact. So I think that that was the moment. And then after that, it was just kind of natural and building off of that, so to say.
I love that. I love that. Well, congratulations for you. Like right now we're in a conversation with somebody and it's for an event and they're doing something for us. I'm like, they need to do that for all the speakers. Like we have the ability, right, the influence to impact and do good for others, right? Not just for ourselves. Where do we find you? How do our audience follow you?
I think that probably again Instagram would be the easiest way. Millionaire underscore hippie underscore is my handle.
I love it. And that's the name of your book as well, correct?
Actually, the book is called From a Fire Under Your Ass to a Fire in Your Heart.
Oh, where did I see Millionaire Hippie? Oh, maybe that's just your handle, right?
Yeah, that's just the
Okay.
brand name. Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
exactly.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, fantastic. Okay. So now, right, if we were to say, looking back at something that accelerated your visibility or your success or kind of catapulted you, what would you say was the action that you took and why did it work? And I'm gonna start with you, Anthony.
Yeah, I'd love this question. I have taken a much more personal approach. This podcast for a part of this year, building more outward authority. But the way that I've really built a lot of foundational connections and community in Austin, what's really cool is every time last year I spent 8 months traveling full time and I'd come back to Austin for a couple weeks at a time. Every time I did, I had all kinds of people wanting to hang out. I have a big community. And at that time, I told you about that spiritual awakening. I had the same five friends since high school, and that's all I had.
Yeah.
And what I did, I actually did it after last year's marketing cruise. There's a app called Clay.Earth, and I used it for several months and built the
Say
practice.
what's the app called again?
It's called Clay.Earth,
Clay.earth. Okay, sorry.
and it's like
Clay.earth.
a personal
Okay.
CRM.
Okay.
And so every day, I uploaded all my contacts in there, and every single day, it'd send me three people. And so no matter what, no matter how I felt, I would connect with those three people every single day. And
And were these people you knew, like your contacts? They weren't
yeah,
random strangers. Oh
nope,
my
just
gosh,
people in my
I'm loving
contacts.
this. I told my husband this year we need to be better at being friends, right? And reaching out to our friends. So, Anthony, this is not a coincidence.
Yeah, and it was phenomenal. And it was the one tool that I actually implemented from last year's marketers cruise. I didn't do much, but that was the one. And my commitment to myself was if I wanted to go live this life where I was traveling full time, it didn't start out that way. It started with a heartbreak, but ended up in that. I didn't want to lose the connections I'd built. I didn't want to have weaker relationships with my family. So I made a commitment that I was going to keep that. And I was also going to build a better relationship with my family while I was gone.
Hmm.
I didn't want that to be an excuse. And so I actually really cultivated my network and stayed in connection with people while I was out of the country, while I was traveling. And it helped a lot because when I was in Asia for a month and a half, I met one person who spoke like full English, like American, like I could fully communicate with. So it was good for me too, but also I stayed in touch with people and the result, like it would just literally just be a drop in. I'd 30 seconds or a minute, I would just let somebody know how grateful I was for them, or I'd peep their social media and make a comment on that or something with no agenda. Just, hey, I just want to say I see you, I love you, I connect with you, or this great memory, whatever it was. It's one of the best things I ever did for visibility. Nurturing those connections that I already had. It wasn't about getting a whole bunch more. It was about actually connecting deeper with the people that are already in my network.
I am loving this so much because I think of the same thing. Like we don't need more, right? Like, sometimes more is just volume, but How about building relationships with the people we've already met and maintaining those? And we did just go on this marketers cruise with 400 people, and somebody was asking me this morning about the benefit of it, and I'm like, it's the relationships. It's when you go year after year, it's seeing them again and having those conversations. But something like this helps you to maintain that throughout the year. And right now, like with all the AI and all, like people are lonelier than ever. We are more connected than we've ever been, but we feel more disconnected than ever. And so I think something like this is incredible. So let's start a little thing on Anthony's Instagram, right? I checked in with my people today, right? I made that connection, and we can all point back to when Anthony helped me to become a better friend, right? And stay connected. I'm loving that. I'm loving that. Okay, Justine, how about you? What was something, an action that you took that accelerated your success and accelerated your visibility, and why did it work?
It's very similar, and some of the things that Anthony said kind of spawned some things in me, and that the real shift came not from chasing attention, which is what I think sometimes we think I got to put more content out, but it was from the true communities that I started to align with and the true collaborations that really just felt easy, because that came across and truly trying to be of service. And last year, I experienced this towards the end of 2024, something called the Diva Network, which stands for Driven, Inspirational, Visionary, Authentic Sisterhood. And I owe a lot to Adora Crystal Evans for starting this global network and inviting many in and giving us a lot. And we just offering space. What I realized was by offering space up, you give people a voice, you give them the chance to collaborate. And when I started doing that and joining other communities that were doing that, everything started happening. And I'm not saying like everything's going great and but it's the consistency that we keep doing it. Like you're saying now that we have a whole new crop of people, which is why I'm so happy that we did this so soon after the marketers cruise to reconnect. And so but what Adora did was give us space like 2 times a week minimum. At first we were meeting almost every day.
Mm.
She didn't need to do that. She was trying to build something. And it's lessened now, but we took a trip together. It forced me to find other women's communities like the She Angels here in LA that give nonprofit money to women run nonprofits. It's like the most incredible organization, all these wonderful women. And I walked in, I'm like, oh, I feel at home here. Then was doing a Diva Locals event myself that I started a chapter here in the West Valley of Los Angeles. And I spoke from stage that I needed. I was going to Kenya. I need some help with this menstrual equity thing. Someone connected me with the woman with the Could You cups. And I saw these ripple effects happening really fast. And then David Fagan was like, write an article about community. I'm like, okay. Then it got published like in the LA Tribune. And so, all of these things that lead us. And then we get to be like on the cruise. A lot of people are like, how do you know so many people? And I'm like, it's that what I call the unilome effect, which is my tattoo here, but the unilome is a Buddhist symbol for we don't know where we're going until we arrive there. And I feel like I'm at a point, maybe because I'm a certain age, that I'm starting to feel the arrival that all those pieces, and you said this earlier, where like, why did I take that left turn and go to France? And why did I get on that cruise? Oh, because I needed to get here, And when you can start to help other people see that connection, it really is impactful. And then the one other thing I guess I'm going to share is I'm a voiceover talent, and I really resisted creating audiobooks because it takes a long time. But then the pandemic hit, and I finally got to sit down and do my first audiobook, which happened to be a book my aunt wrote called How to Make a Life. I had to play like 50 different characters, but I had so much fun. It was a long process. We gave each other a lot of grace. I got to talk to her every day. And during the pandemic, my 82-year-old aunt, who's now 80, whatever she is, 84. I mean, she's amazing, first-time author. And it showed me, wow, this is an incredible way to bring a story to life. And now I'm helping other people do that too, as you know. And I'm
Yeah.
really trying to devise some
And I
systems.
I
that.
love this. And you can see in Justine's face, right, how she lights up. Like when we're meant, like when we're doing what we were meant to do, I think so often we kind of follow the here's what I should do, here's what I could do, here's what everybody else is doing. But when you finally are in that where you arrive, right, that path, you can see like this is what you were meant to do. I read this quote one time. It says, "You are not tired because trying to do too many things. You're tired because you're doing too many of the wrong things. When you do the right thing, you're all lit up, right?" And so I love this. I love this. And the marketers cruise, I saw you say, Natasha in the chat, I need this marketers cruise. Yes, you do. Next year, my goal is to be there with a whole bunch of podcasting friends. I actually had I counted 24 clients were on the marketers cruise with me this year. And I had no idea there were that many. If you would have asked me, I'm like, oh, there's like five or six of us. But I was going through and there were over 20. And so next year, I would love to have a whole group of our podcasters, of our authors, of our podcast guests. So if you want to check it out it's themarketerscruise.com, I believe. And I'll put that in the show notes. I'll put all of their Instagrams in the show notes. So for you guys, make sure you put those links in the chat here so I can grab those for the show notes as well. All right, my hippie friend. What's one action that has accelerated your success and why did it work?
Well, that's a really good question, Angel, because when it comes to my personal brand, you use the word success, visibility, catapulted. I don't identify with any of those words. When it comes to my personal brand, I've actually struggled a lot and I still struggle in a way. And I still do it though, just because I'm very passionate about it. I've had, coaching clients, but I don't have like, I think if you go see my Instagram, maybe I have like 100 people. I don't even know, right? It's honestly, I don't feel in a situation where I can actually share when it comes to marketing, when it comes to personal branding, from experience of my own. However, I do feel successful in other ways. I just want to make a little parenthesis here that the brand is called Millionaire Hippie because I'm a traveler. And Anthony, I think you will really understand that. I became rich at the first time when I was 23 years old because I was making $2,000 a month online living in the Philippines.
Oh,
And
so
then I
you
was
were
like,
like living large, right? Yes,
I
yes,
was.
for sure.
It was amazing. And then, you're in Hungary and then you're like, oh, I'm buying a 10,000, you feel like it's dollars because it's money. You're like, I'm paying 10,000 for a pizza. And then, you've gone and I actually, go to the ATM and take out millions, right? And so that's where the name Millionaire Hippie came in. But in all humility, so everyone knows I'm not trying to pretend like I'm a millionaire here. Although if you take a plane and you end up somewhere else, I am a millionaire, right? Especially Bali. I mean, like, hey, that was great. So that being said, I've done exactly what I wanted to do, which was travel the world.
Ugh,
And
right?
that's
I'm reading Sharon Lecter's book that just came out called True Wealth, I think it's what it's called. Um, it's an audio or it's on the Kindles, so I don't actually pick up the book every time it just starts the page I'm on. But that's what they talk about, Natasha, is it's about living a life that you love, right? It's about your peace and your joy and your health and your wellness and the relationships. It isn't just about what's in our bank account, right? Money is energy. And it doesn't have to be millions to create the energy. You could have millions and be miserable, right? We've all heard that. And then there's like, well, give me a million. Let me just see if I'm happier. Like I'd love to try that, right? But it isn't like it's energy and it's what is that doing for your lifestyle, your relationships, your connections, right? Your impact in the world and how are you giving back and serving? But I do kind of love like I am a millionaire in Bali, right? I took out millions and right, it's and if somebody gets kind of hung up over semantics, like that's their energy. And so I know right before we went live, Natasha, she's like, Angel, I don't know if I'm the right person to answer this. I'm like, you are absolutely the right person to answer this because no matter where you are on your journey is your journey. And there are people who are afraid to step out because maybe they don't see themselves, yeah, belonging in that room. And my mentor and Anthony and Natasha, you guys met Bill on the cruise. He says you belong in every room, and don't let anybody tell you you don't. right? Like you belong in every room and in proximity and just showing up, but showing up in your authentic way and in who you are. I remember when I was invited to be the chairman of my board of my chamber of commerce. I'm like, chairman? Like who? Like I have no idea like what that means and what that would look like. So I went and I interviewed past chairmans, like of like three or four past chairmans, just to get their advice and what do I do and what does this mean? And what I took away from all of them, and they were all men, right? Grumpy old men, right? Here I am, this feisty, I'm super into my femininity, right? And so I just didn't think I fit the profile of being a chairman of a board. But what I took away from all of them was just be yourself, right? Like who you are and what is inside of us. Like if we could just be in that authentic space, but I just think we watch and we compare ourselves to what everybody else is doing, where everybody else is, and we get into that. So I love Natasha that that's exactly where you're at. So let's bring this baby home, right? Let's wrap it up and tie it in a bow. If someone is listening right now and they want to make an even bigger impact, right? Or step into sharing their story, living in that space, taking a page out of your own playbook, right? Your own business playbook or your own playbook. What is one move that they should make first? And I'm going to have you each share, and then I'm also would love for you to recap with your contact information as well of how people can connect with you. Anthony, let's go. Your business playbook. Let's take a page out of it. Oh, you're muted, my friend. And then Natasha, you are too, in case when you're ready to go.
Thank you. The best thing I could possibly recommend anyone do is meet their human need of certainty within themselves. And it sounds very vague.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, what does that mean?
So the last year, I spent 8 months traveling full time. I would land in places, had no idea where I was sleeping that night, no idea where I was going to do my work, my calls, my sessions, no idea what I was going to eat. Nothing around me had any type of certainty. And so amidst that, a lot of people that would derail their reality, like they wouldn't be able to operate. And what I learned in Tony Robbins, the six human needs, this is key. We all need to meet our need for certainty, but most people seek outside of themselves to do it.
Mm.
And if we want to have major impact in the world, we have to create a deep level of certainty within ourselves so that we are not imposing that certainty on other people. And what I found is my coaching got so much better. My relationships with other people got so much better because my certainty was coming internally. I had no need to control anybody outside of myself. I didn't need people to be like me. I didn't need people to have the same beliefs, anything like that. And so I became so secure in myself that the world around me did not matter. And
Mm.
when you're in that place, you exude such a deep level of authenticity, of love, of true conviction, and it's not an attachment to how everything else outside of you looks. And so most people might see that as a distant connection, but for me, if I really look back, and what I recommend anyone is get really certain in yourself. And so go get a plane ticket, go do that. That's awesome. If you can't do that, just start to really focus in on what are you certain about in your life. You don't need everything outside of you to look a certain way, but what are you certain about? I know I'm going to show up today in this way. I know I'm going to treat everyone I meet with love and respect. I know I'm going to make mistakes, but I also know if I make those mistakes, that I'm going to own them. I'm going to honor them. I'm going to speak them to people. I'm going to take that ownership. So whatever it is, start to find that certainty inside of yourself.
Wow. Okay. And how do we connect with you?
Yeah, if you want to connect with me again, Instagram is Anthony Lives Free. Send me a message, DM, whatever, and we can connect.
This is so good. This is so good, Anthony. I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad you're here today. All right,
Thank
Justine, for you, taking a page out of your playbook, if somebody's just kind of feeling a little overwhelmed as to what they should do next, what do you recommend?
So, once again, I'm so inspired by Anthony and everyone here and everything that you said. The most important thing I think you can do is to get to know your internal voice through stillness, through visioning, through journaling. I'm a big believer in meditation and using that to match with your outer voice through feedback, mentorship, and community. If we don't, we're often driven by an internal fear that's even making choices for us rather, and we don't even realize it. our choice to do or not do something, to the one thing I think, if you can really hone in, am I doing this from fear or love? And as opposed to pros and cons. I don't believe in pros and cons, but really you can make choices. Am I doing this for through fear or love? And then how, of course, because I'm about the voice, how can we start out crying when we're born, and then we try to get our needs met until we've been shut down. So the one thing is to discover, where have we felt shut down? Take a look at it with a mentor, get the feedback you need so you can really step into your own power and verbalize and communicate and land your message to make your dreams come true. And I believe too, yes, travel, exploring, do it in community, but know thyself. And that's the internal voice. And don't be afraid.
Beautiful. Beautifully said from our voice coach. Of course it was.
Yeah.
Justine, how do we connect with you?
I always like the best way too on Instagram. It just seems so easy to DM, but Justine Reiss, Reiss, and then through the empoweredvoicecoach.com.
Empoweredvoicecoach.com. And you have a free gift, right?
Yeah, I do. I do have a free gift, and it's 7 steps to use your voice with more power. And excuse me, that's my son, so I'm going to have to call him back. It's 7 steps to use your voice with more power. It's a PDF, and then you can reach out to me for private coaching, or I love working in groups, and I'm really kicking out this program, Claim Your Voice, also the name of my book, to work on these things in community. And I can't wait to at least have a conversation with you.
I love it. I love it. And Anthony, did you have a free gift that you wanted to give away? I know we asked for your contact information, but I wanted to give you that opportunity if you had something.
Yeah, you know what? I always love, there's so many things I could offer. I love a custom option. So if anyone sends me a DM, I'm happy to jump in with you. I do a thing called a decisive clarity session, and it's foundational for anything I do. So if anybody sends me a DM, happy to schedule a free session with you and give you my time personally.
Wow, very generous. Very generous. Thank you. All right, Natasha, somebody listening and they wanting to make that next big leap in their life or something bold, but feels a little overwhelmed. What would you recommend?
Well, first of all, if you're feeling overwhelmed, I think breathing, first step. Take a breath. That's the yogi in me that's like pranayama. Other than that, if it's wanting to move forward, I would honestly say that I studied neurolinguistic programming, and as a high ticket closer in sales has been was actually that's where I've actually had success financially and in business. And as much as in sales, in marketing, or even just in my own life, NLP, like being able to really communicate with myself, being able to understand, okay, where am I looking at things through my own biased mind, right? Where can I, actually understand where I'm being limited by working on autopilot, all of those things. Like honestly, if you're not knowing what direction to go, it's probably because you keep running in circles. And it's probably because you keep on using the two same wheels and the other wheels of the car just aren't roll. And you probably want to balance that out. And NLP, I think, is the number one tool. And I'm sure that there's a lot. I was very blessed. My coach brought me into the coaching room that's a academy in Australia, and they're really, really, really good. So I learned with them, but I don't know a lot of like places on the internet. But what I do know is that there's a lot of them that are going to give you like I'm sorry, like a BS level of NLP. So just make sure that you're going and you're getting something that's really, really good and that you're actually looking at, some really nice things. Like my podcast has some nice stuff about it.
Do
But
you teach that or is there some you do? Okay.
I mean,
Um,
I don't teach
because
it.
I have a great referral for somebody who does NLP, but because you're here on the podcast, like if that's something like we don't want to
No,
we
no,
don't want to be
please,
in the
please,
space.
please,
Okay.
please promote everyone that does it.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's super, super valuable. And language is so much, and the language we speak to ourselves. And we do, we kind of get ourselves. If you find yourself in the same place, like I've gone to all the classes, I've learned all the things, I keep, working with coaches, but I keep finding myself back here. I think that's really, really great suggestion. And then how do we connect with you? And if you have a free gift, you can give it away as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Angel. Yeah. Millionairehippie.com or millionaire_hippie on Instagram. And if you reach out to me on Instagram or if you go onto that website landing there, you'll see that there's my book. I have been told by one of the few people that my huge personal brand has brought my book to. Did tell me it was one of the best books they read that year. And so it is yeah, it's really interesting. It gives a spiritual yet grounded approach to the nervous system, CPTSD, and motivation strategies, which is a huge foundation in NLP. And I want to spark your curiosity here. And I wonder, anyone that's listening, and even for the three of you here, do you know if you're functioning from a moving towards motivation or a moving away from motivation? Do you know how that affects your nervous system? And do you know how fun it would be if you could move towards things? So a bunch
Mm.
of questions there to leave that open-ended.
I love that. I love that. All right. Well, fantastic. I will say for all of you, I this gelled really well together, right? And not, not by me putting it together. And this is one of those that the the universe takes care of things, and God brings us together for purpose. So I love how this conversation gelled. It's such a powerful, and I wrote this down. It's such a powerful reminder that impact doesn't come from waiting until you feel ready. It comes from deciding to share your story. Every voice you heard today took a different path, right? But the common thread is this: they chose to show up, to speak up, and trust that the right people would hear it. And if something in this episode resonated with you, I want to encourage you to do one thing, and that is share it with someone you know that might be meant for more, but hasn't taken that next step yet, or will just love to hear these stories from these beautiful souls. And if there was somebody that resonated with you, or a tip or an idea or a story, tag us in the comments as well. I'm Angel Tuccy. It has been my absolute honor to bring you these beautiful guests today. If you are looking for more visibility and exposure, come and hang out with us in our Podlicity community, podlicity.com, leveraging the power of podcasts for more publicity. And then stay tuned, right? Follow another episode of Make Your Big Impact. Cheers, everybody. Love you all. Bye-bye.